Hello everyone and welcome to our YouTube channel, Jodi and Tricky. I am half of the duo. I am Jodi. So I saw where there's been a few comments, couple of requests where after last week's Tuesdays with Tricky where we were talking to Dr. Daryl Daly, we touched briefly on fibroids, and I had mentioned, but I didn't get to finish my train of thoughts, where I was talking about my issue with fibroids. And I thought, my journey with fibroids is just ongoing, and it's I think it's interesting. So I kind of wanted to share my journey with you guys. So I have a little story time, and people do ask because I find that fibroids is really common, especially with Jamaican women. So stay tuned, I'm gonna tell you all about my fibroids. Alright guys, so I do have some notes here, just some little bullet points, because I wanted to make sure that I try to remember everything. So for the past couple of nights, I've just been jotting down, trying to put everything in order, because I've been dealing with this for some time. So just jotting down to make sure that I bring you the full story for an amazing story time today. Make sure you give me a like. I hope the like is right where I'm pointing. Anyway. Okay, so I got married in 2012 and I started getting reoccurring yeast infections, and I boiled it down to stress. When you're getting married, there's so many different elements that come into play, and you have to be organizing so many different aspects of other people and you and this and that, and is it going to be perfect? You're getting married, but you're so worried about what other people are going to think about your wedding and that's another YouTube video. Anyway, I kept getting yeast infections and I was like, okay, it's just a stress, this too shall pass. It's kind of strange. It was strange for me to get yeast infections. I think before 2012, I'd maybe gotten like 1 or 2 in my entire life, and I can wear my gym clothes all day. Like I can sit down in the sweaty gym clothes all day and I don't get no yeast infection. So I was kind of like, okay, I hope this kind of passes after the wedding, because this is kind of weird. Anyway, it didn't pass. And I was getting frequent periods. Like my periods were coming more and more often, and they were staying for a longer time. And I'm like, something is not right. Something is not right. So my friend said to me, hey, why don't you go to a different gynecologist, separate and apart from the one you go to, just for a second opinion, because something is not right. And my first gynecologist, the one that I was going to, she just said, you know what, Jodi, just up your dosage of birth control, so the percentage of the hormone in there. And I was still, something still wasn't right. So my friend gave me Dr. Michael Abrams' number, and I called the number one morning, and chirpy man answered the phone. Hello, good morning. And I was like, oh, hi, I'd like to make an appointment. What's wrong with you? So I was like, I have recurring yeast infections. All right, darling, tell me about it. So I was like, who is this? This is Dr. Abrams. He called to make the appointment with me. And I was like, I didn't believe him. And I was like, why are you answering your own phone? That's really weird. And he goes, no, I take my own appointments, and I take them at this time in the morning. And it just so happened that you've called. And I was like, oh, I thought this was very strange. I've never heard of a doctor like answer his own phone. But I was like, all right. He was so like happy and chirpy, and you kind of just wanted to talk to him. Like I kind of wanted to talk to him. Anyway, in the middle of telling him my story, I started breaking down in tears, and I was like, I'm sick of this. I'm a young girl, and all these yeast infections, it's not like me. I'm having my period. Before, I would have periods really often, or very long and heavy, and now they're just coming even more frequently. Like I feel like I always have to be like, is there anything on my skirt? Anyway, I broke down crying, and he said, I was really frustrated, and he said, all right, come in and see me. So Dr. Abrams, big up yourself. Dr. Abrams did an ultrasound, and the first gynecologist that I went to, she didn't have an in-office ultrasounder, the one thing. So he gave me an ultrasound, and he said, you have a few fibroids there, and that could be what's causing the problem. Did he give me? Yeah, he diagnosed fibroids. Later that year, so I got married in May of 2012. I traveled to Miami later that year, and I said, let me just go and see a gynecologist there, get a second opinion, see what's happening. The bleeding was still continuing. Things kind of, although I was not diagnosed, Dr. Abrams diagnosed me with fibroids, we didn't really take the next step to say what's gonna happen after that. So when I was traveling to Florida, you know, some Jamaicans just think, oh, everything is better in the States. You can only get things done in the States. You know, best hairdresser in the States, best makeup in the States, this one in the States, you want it in the States, best food in the States. And I think that I kind of got warped into that. Anyway, so have to go to doctor in America, and I'm not American, so you know I paid. Anyway, so I went and I saw Dr. Ladinez Espinal, and she's a very sought after OBGYN in Miramar, Florida. She has quite a few titles, and I just thought it would be nice to see a woman, just because she knows more about what I'm talking about. Like, she's got a pum pum too. Anyway, I saw her, and she did a few tests on me, and she did the same ultrasound. And while I was on the table, I remember like feeling a warm gush. I was like, oh, what's that? And it was late in the day too. Like, she saw me, she was doing all these different tests, we were talking, and you know, now the ultrasound person, I can't remember the proper name, she stayed a little later to be able to accommodate me for an ultrasound, because I mean, I was just like, I know this is fibroids, but how do I fix this? What do I do? Anyway, while I was on the table getting the exam, I just felt like a warm gush. Anyway, when the exam was over, everybody left the room and I was to dress, and I stood up, and it was like a gush of blood, like something pop. And I was like, what just happened? Like, I don't understand. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, did a fibroid just pop? Like, what is going on? Like, I've heard of fibroids before. My mom had fibroids. I remember when I went to the hospital to visit her, she took one out that was like massive, like the size of my head. And I was like, but I remember that it was a hard mass. How come I'm bleeding? Did I pop a fibroid? I didn't understand. I went into doctor's office after that, and Dr. Espinal said to me, okay, I'm going to give you some medication. This should help to stop with the bleeding. However, if the bleeding is from fibroids, this medication may not work. We need to figure out some type of surgery to remove the fibroids, because clearly they're bothering you, and you've been bleeding now for quite some time. So, you know, I came back to Jamaica. So I'm back in Jamaica now. We've gone actually over into the, we're now in the Christmas season. So this is December 2012, and party time in Jamaica, you know, this is when all of the foreigners come down, all of your friends come down. Like, party season in Jamaica is kicking. Like, this is when I couldn't enjoy myself. I was still bleeding, I was still having cramping. I don't think I was having any more yeast infections, not that I can remember, but I just remember there was always bleeding. The continuous bleeding was getting worse. I'm also anemic, so I was always feeling weak. I didn't really want to go out because I can't feel sexy with like a pad. Couldn't wear a tampon because the bleeding is not necessarily caused from a period, so I didn't want to wear a tampon. I now had chafe because I was constantly wearing a pad from months before, and I was just like, yo, I cannot do this anymore. Like, what is wrong with me? Something is wrong. Like, you know, I'm a young girl and I'm supposed to be healthy. They keep telling me I have fibroid. I need to have them removed. Like, I can't. Anyway, something happened over the Christmas, and there was like a pain in my belly bottom, and I called Dr. Espinal. I think she gave me her personal number, because I called her. I remember sitting on the floor one Christmas Eve. I remember sitting on the floor, and I was on Sean's phone, and I called Dr. Espinal. He had a US phone, so I was just calling her straight, or I was just using his credit. And I called her and I was like, Doc, this is so uncomfortable for me. I've been bleeding now from May. It's now December. I I'm wearing a pad all the time. Like, this is horrible. Like, this is really, really horrible. Like, everything is so sore, and I can't feel sexy, and I don't feel healthy. Like, something is wrong. And she said, okay, Jodi, we're gonna book you in for emergency surgery on the 27th. So I said, okay, doc, all right. So she said, get yourself ready, get yourself to Miami. You're going for surgery on December 27th. So I said, okay. My next call now was to the airlines, because now I had to book myself a ticket. I left Jamaica on December 26th to go up and have surgery. I remember once we got to the airport, I don't know what was happening in Miami airport. There were no cars. I was even considering to take like the moving bus. I'm like, I've been here for so long. And this lady just came up and she's like, oh, you're Jamaican? And I was like, yes, I've been waiting so long for a car. Nowhere had cars. No car company had cars. It was just this white moving van. And I was like, I've been here for 4 hours. I said to her, I was like, I don't think you understand why I'm here. Like, I'm not here to shop. I'm not here to see friends. I'm here, I'm doing surgery tomorrow. And I just want to go to my hotel room. I just want to have something to eat. And I just need a minute, and it's a lot right now. Like, I just left my family yesterday. It was Christmas Day. I'm now doing surgery tomorrow. Like, all right. She gave me a little, I think it was a gold Corolla. I was never so happy to see a little gold Corolla in all my life. Anyway, after 4 hours just at the rent-a-car counter, we got out. That doesn't include like the whole getting bags and whatever. Anyway, we got out. I said to Mommy, I really want to go to my favorite place for lunch, you know, just relax. So we went to the village of Merrick Park. They have a nice restaurant in there. One of my favorite sushi rolls is there, whatever. I remember just sitting down there, and you know, my mom, God no, you know, it was never a question of if she was going to come with me or not. When I booked the ticket, I was messaging her, and I'm on the phone to the airline, and I said, Mommy, I need somebody to come with me. And she's like, yes, darling, of course, no problem. How long are we going? No problem, I'm gonna pack my bags now. Okay, baby. And I sat down in Merrick Park with this lady who picked up from her family from Christmas Day. You know, Boxing Day, you want to lie down and relax. Nope. My mother was right there beside me through the hectic airport, trying to get this rent-a-car to sit down and watch me have surgery. Well, Mommy, thank you. Anyway, I get a call, and it is the insurance company, and they're now telling me that they're not going to cover my surgery because they one, don't feel it's an emergency, and two, I hadn't filled out a form. Some foolishness. I'm at lunch and I just started to cry, and I'm like, how much more, man? How much more? Like, I don't understand. How did I get these fibroids? How did I get myself in this position? Like, what more? You know, and then I went with a certain amount of cash. My credit cards can only hold a certain amount. And I'm like, this surgery is going to cost me up to how much? Thousands of dollars. Whereas if my insurance covers it, I have the cash for that right here. I have my credit card that can hold a little swipe here, my mommy's credit card that can hold a little swipe there. What am I going to do? The whole surgery has to be cancelled. Like, I've come here bleeding all the way from Kingston, Jamaica to Miami for what? So anyway, I called home, and Sean was like, all right, don't worry, I will look about the insurance company. You just get ready for your surgery tomorrow. Next day was December 27th. That was surgery day. Get all the way to had to wake up early, because you know how the whole surgery thing go. You have to wake up early, can't eat from a certain time from the night before. And I get to, I can't remember the hospital, but I do know we were staying like on a golf course, and they had like a little reasonably priced hotel, but we were very near to the hospital that Dr. Espinal operates out of. And Mommy too, she kind of afraid, you know. She's like, yo, Miami, how do you drive on these roads? And it's just very intimidating. So I wanted to be very close to, you know, everything that was happening, so that, you know, she didn't feel too intimidated to drive from the hospital back to the hotel. It actually wasn't a bad hotel. The room was a little small, but anyway, can't even remember the name of it. Get to the hospital now, and let me tell you, every minute they come in to check in. Hi, can I have your name? And why are you here? About 5 different people come to ask me, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, am I going to change my mind? Is something else? So when the next person come in, hi, what's your name? What do you hear? I said, breast augmentation. Hold on. What's your name again? So I'm like, okay, I'm just joking. I'm here to do fibroid surgery. Jodi Henriquez or Jodi Stewart. What was the, have I? And I don't think I changed my name yet. So, you know, it's just such a small world. It really is a small world. You know, just being in the hospital, don't know anybody, very intimidating, very sterile. I'd never done like a surgery or gone into a hospital in the States. You know, it's very like, the nurses were doing their job, but it was just very, you know, hi, how are you? Okay, all right, okay, bye. And then a lady walks in, I guess a shift change, and she's like, hi, Lord, darling, oh, you look so worried. So we hear the accent now, and I was like, hi, going in for surgery. And she goes, yeah, man, I see on the paper here. All right, yeah, man, Jodi, I am Corey Miller's mother. My mother wrapped her arms around her. So Corey and Tracy basically grew up together. It was 3 of them. It was Tracy, Corey, and Strolly that were thick as thieves. They even went to China together for a whole summer, like traveling around the place. And just to see a familiar face or hear that familiar, you know, it was just so reassuring to Mommy and I. And she just took, you know, like an extra care, like, you know, you want water, you're right, you need an extra pillow. And it just felt a little bit more like, all right, this is not so bad. It was time to go into surgery. And my mother looks at me and she's like, she was crying. Why am I crying? Ooh, all right, ooh, not necessary. She started praying. All right, darling. And all I can remember, they're wheeling me off on the gurney, and it was like one of those Lifetime movies. They're pushing me up. And she's there, and I'm like, that was so dramatic. So dramatic. Like being wheeled off with Nanny there, like, be brave, darling, God is with you. Which, thank you, but it was just so dramatic. Anyway, I get into the room, and I will never forget this part of the surgery, because for all other surgeries I have done. So when they're putting me under, or when you're being put under, you kind of want to be left with like happy thoughts, you know? So I don't know, it's kind of fun when you have happy thoughts, or, you know. I went under complaining because they had the mask, the oxygen mask over my nose, and it was squeezing my nose. So before the man just give me a little chance, you know, and I'm like, oh, this mask is really tight. Like, you guys have it. Knockout. Sorry, you couldn't have given me like a little 2 minutes to fix the mask and then be like, oh, Smurfs and marshmallows. So anyway, this was a non-invasive procedure. So basically what that meant was Dr. Espinal went up to my pum-pum. She took out whatever fibroid she could see and pull out through that method. What is that method called? Non-invasive pum-pum fibroid removal? I don't know. I did try to reach out to her office, but this was so long ago. I find that doctors' offices don't keep files for so long, especially because I'm not like a patient with her currently. So I was trying to find out the name, maybe get some pictures, but that didn't happen. I'll drop in a picture of Dr. Espinal. So she said she removed whatever fibroid she could see and get using that method. The next day I went home. December 28th, I went home, and I was like, yo, why do I need to stay in Miami in this hotel room, like not doing, poor mommy, what's she gonna do? You know how much books she read? Anyway, so traveling home, my stomach was distended, it was a little sore, and just any pothole, any like, you know, when the plane was landing, I just kind of had to just brace myself like this, because anything that really shook me up was uncomfortable. I don't really complain about pain, you know. It was a little uncomfortable, but I was glad to get home. And I remember when we were flying home, we passed over Maiden Key, and they were having a beach party. This time now, you know, because of the surgery, the bleeding turned right up. There was so much more bleeding. Like, I was now wearing a maternity pad. And I'm there looking down at the beach, and I'm like, yo, I've spent the whole Christmas bleeding. It's like, you know what? Hopefully this is the last of this, everything is done and I can move on. Looked at the boats, looked at the beautiful blue water. No, I could be down there drinking a rum. Anyway, me and my pad, we're headed home. So as I said, my stomach looked distended, felt, you know, it looked swollen, and it like a jolt or a pothole, it would hurt. I had to kind of move around slowly, but from the outside you couldn't read. Actually, no, from the outside the swelling was going down, so we couldn't go to beach party anyway because very big. On New Year's Day now, so 27th came home, no sorry, 27th surgery, 28th came home, 29th, 30, 31 New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. So Sean was like, you know, I got tickets for a party. How are you feeling? Do you want to go? And I was like, you know what? I do want to go. Like, I've spent the whole of Christmas locked up. I'm feeling a little bit better. My stomach don't look so bad. I actually remember I wore like more of a corset to kind of keep any distension in. And also I felt better in the corset. Like I felt like I was, you know, held together. Anyway, I went out and I do remember like I had to take a break every now and then, and I would sit down. There was a couple chairs and I would sit down, and you know, people come talk to me and I was like, yo, this is so I really want to party this badly. I am out, and people just never knew what I'd gone through that Christmas. People didn't know like that I was standing up there fresh out of emergency surgery. I guess you could call it emergency surgery. And I was like, you know what? I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to, you know. Anyway. After a while now, the bleeding subsided and finally stopped. Finally. Jeez, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. That's 8 months of just uncomfortableness of... Yo, women go through so much. And just in general, I've said this before, you don't know what somebody's going through. Like, you know, you would have never known that Christmas if you see me out or at the supermarket or even at that party. You would have never known what I was going through. And I'm not a complainer like that. I don't, you know, and I would never be like, oh, ow, oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, well, my fibroids. Like, I'm not that kind of person. And I went through so much in those 8 months. Bleeding finally subsided and I was like, okay, like, thank God. Anyway, after the surgery, Dr. Espinal did mention to me, she said that she took out what she could, but there was some other fibroids in there that she couldn't get using that method, just to watch the fibroids. I said, okay, fine, bleeding stopped, me ready to do road. So now, the fibroids that were left in there, they weren't troubling me. We just left them. I just left them. They were just chilling. In 2016, I got pregnant with my first son, Levi. And I guess with all of the hormones from pregnancy, the fibroids started to grow as well. And they were troubling me. They started to bother me. I remember there was one morning where I'd actually called Dr. Abrams crying. And it was funny because the pain came on in the night, you know. And I said, there's no way that I can call him in the night. Like, what, you know, like, and I waited until 5:30 and Sean was standing up over me with his phone. He's like, call him. I said, Sean, I'm in pain and I'm hurting, but anyway, at 5:30, I was like, Doc, I'm sorry, I could not wait any longer. I'm in pain. He said, come on down to his office. And doing the ultrasounds, he was like, yeah, I can see there were 3 big ones. And they were so big that when I sat in certain positions, you see a nice woman, pregnant woman's belly, you could actually see them kind of like poking out. And we used to make jokes that Levi had a footballs in there to play around with. It was uncomfortable. There was at one time where it was painful, but there was nothing I could really do about it because I couldn't have surgery to remove them while I'm pregnant. Nearing the end of my pregnancy, was really, really uncomfortable, because now the space is limited, the fibroids are growing, the baby is growing, more fibroids are popping up. And I mean, you could see, I was trying to look for like a picture. In the picture you see to the screen, you can just see it poking up. It used to freak out my brother. Like, he'd be like, what is that? It would just look like little cherry on top, or it would poke out to the side. And yeah, nothing I could do about it. Anyway, I gave birth in February of 2017. And I said to, Doc and I were talking, and I said, I was so uncomfortable during my pregnancy that I really don't want to get pregnant again with the fibroids in. I want to have them removed. What can I do? So he said, all right, well, we're going to do a myomectomy. And you know what? Like, honestly, it was, Jodi, wake up. Foreign is nice, but Jamaican nice. So Jamaican women, we deal with fibroids way more than the foreigner, like our foreign counterparts, our American counterparts. So fibroids here, fibroids in Jamaica are super common, which is unfortunate. We don't know if it's the diet, we don't know if it's our culture, we don't know, we can't pinpoint exactly how fibroids are caused or why they grow. But Jamaican women, it's very common in our society. And so therefore our doctors here have dealt with removing them probably way more times than our foreign counterparts. Dr. Abrams could have done a myomectomy with his eyes closed. And another thing, his stitch was so neat. Because that was my thing. I'm like, I had my first child naturally. I was able to have Levi naturally. And I was like, yo, now I'm going to get like a C-section scar? He's like, no man, no man, no man. The scar from the myomectomy was about this wide. So I did the surgery in September of 2017, yes, because 2017, yeah. So it was a 6-week healing period. Back to the bleeding, back to the bleeding. My gosh, who bleed more than me? My gosh, man. Anyway, and then, oh, and there was another problem. So after, well, does that have anything to do with fibroids? No, let's not mention that. That's different. That's another YouTube video. So in September, had a myomectomy, small scar. And what the myomectomy is, it was a different type of surgery than the non-invasive before. So the myomectomy, you cut the skin, you cut through the skin, you cut through the muscle to try and get into the, is it the womb? You try to get into the stomach cavity because that's where the fibroids are. And then that cuts them out and removes them, stitches me back up. Because there's that scar tissue right there on my stomach, there's no way that I could, or it wasn't recommended, it was really highly discouraged for me to do another natural birth because of the scar tissue there. My myomectomy healed very nicely. Doctor's stitch, as I said, was really, really nice. So you just see like a little, and it started to fade. Really nice little line. Got pregnant again in 2018. And this pregnancy was a little different. I think it differs too, because my first was a boy, this one was a girl. My first was natural, and my second would have to be a C-section, because as I was saying, you have that scar tissue there, and it was not recommended for me to push. So I'd have to do a C-section. Boy, it's like, it's hard for me to say that the pregnancy was different because the fibroids were removed, because there were just so many differences, not only the sex of the baby, but just everything. But in terms of that abdominal pain and it just was so much more easier, not having the fibroids in there. But yeah, that is my fibroid story. I do think personally that fibroids grow and feed off of, all of the crap that you have in your diet. And my diet is not the best. Nothing has been troubling me in my nether region, so I just feel like if there are fibroids, they're really small, or they haven't grown big yet, or maybe they haven't grown back any at all. I do go for my regular pap smears and my regular doctor visits. I go about every 6 months. It's a little longer than that, maybe not every 6 months. I go every 9 months. I don't have any more reoccurring yeast infections, and no bleeding. As a matter of fact, I've now put in the merino, so my periods are like non-existent, really. But yeah, that's my fibroid story. I just wanted to let women out there know that for me, my fibroids did not stop me from getting pregnant. There is hope. I know that every woman is different, but I just wanted you to know my story, that I was pregnant with large fibroids, that I did remove them in 2 different methods, and that I was able to get pregnant after each method. And I'm hoping that with this very long 30-minute long explanation of my fibroids, just to tell my story, you know, I hope that I was maybe able to help somebody or encourage somebody who may be feeling really down, because you know, sometimes we go through things alone, like, you know, or it's hard to explain. Like I just remember that feeling of when I stood up off of the exam table and the blood just gushed down. And yes, my husband, when I told him, he felt sorry for me, but I don't know, I didn't know what it was from. I don't know what caused it, and I didn't know if I was okay. And it's just hard to explain when something goes wrong with you, you know. So I just want to let ladies out there know, or I'm compassionate, and I feel it for you, and I'm there with you, and it's happened to me. And you know, whether it be that my story is so insignificant to the big problems that you're having, or you know, my story is, whoa, she went through that. I just want it to be heard, and I hope I can help somebody. I hope I can encourage, you know, just to get some help, just to talk, just to let you know that it's okay to, you know, just to talk, just to get it out there, you know, because I find out when it comes on to punky business, that is like a big shame. You know, oh, yeast infection, people going to think I'm nasty, you know, and I feel it's very important for you to find the right doctor for you, that you feel like you have that camaraderie, and that you can talk, and you don't feel like you're being judged, and that you can get the help that you need, because help is right here in Jamaica. And that was another point I wanted to make, where, you know, I'm sure the first surgery that I did, I could have gotten it done right here in Jamaica without having to spend the extra. Surgery in foreign not cheap either, you know. Anyway, just to reassure, that's a good word, to reassure that you can get everything done here. You can, you know, am I just babbling now? I think I'm just babbling. Anyway, this was my story. This was my fibroid story, and I hope that I was able to help someone, encourage someone, or just to give some information, or to entertain. So yeah, that's it for me. That's it for my fibroids. Hopefully, that's it for my fibroids. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching my YouTube video on my fibroids journey. Well, their journey has come to an end, so yeah. All right, everyone, make sure you drop a comment down below. How are you with talking about lady business? Are you shy? You know, do you have somebody that you would talk to? Drop a comment down below. Please make sure you like the video, and of course, if you're here, make sure you're subscribed. Bye.